Al?
Al's not coming.
Here. Michelle's not here. Let me see. Terry, not here. Mary, not here. Lauren, not here. Gladys,
Here.
here. I'm here. Kate,
Here.
Juanita,
Here. Okay.
Rich is not here.
Okay.
And Julie, not here.
Okay. Teresa said she would try to get on. She was at
Okay.
the dentist. Okay.
Perfect. Oh, Rich is here.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry I'm late.
If you notice anybody popping up that I don't see, just let me know.
Okay. Okay. We know we have the pleasure and we're all sitting, so we're gonna move on down the agenda because there's a lot to get through tonight. And those that are delegates to the convention, and I want Michael to start off. Let's go through this and get it done.
Thank you, Miss Cooper. Okay, so I just shared a link in the chat. I'm going to go through the what's actually going to happen at that delegate assembly, just so we can all sort of frame in our minds just how this works. And then once I think we have a picture of that, we can walk back and figure out what we think we need to accomplish here today. So the document I just shared, there's two documents linked in there. The first one is the Cabe 2025 consent calendar. The second one is the proposed resolutions. Now, the first one's called 2025 for a reason, and the second one is called 2026. That's not a typo, and I'll explain why that is in a minute. So, the Cabe 2025 consent calendar. Every year, Cabe, before the beginning of the legislative session, they have what's called the whole agenda. And the whole agenda is a list of, I don't know, 30, 40, 50 things, depending on the year, that they are supporting, that is going to guide the positions that they take on various legislation as it comes up. That whole agenda is updated every year. Now, the consent calendar is the items from that whole agenda that have not had a request to be edited or changed or removed. So basically, no, everyone said, okay, these are all still good. The same ones from last year. We're good on this. We can just roll these forward. They want to handle those all in one item, which is why it's on a consent calendar. And the idea is that everybody in that room is going to vote that existing agenda straight up or down. And if you let me take my page out here. And if you look through that document, it's not short. There's 46 items in it. Let's see the back page. There's 46 items in it. Now, there is a chance that in that assembly, delegate assembly, next week at Cabe, that everybody votes it straight through, and great, that whole consent calendar will go through. If anyone has an issue with even one item on this, they can raise their hand and say, I'm sorry, I have a problem with item 1-XX. They will pull that item off and they say, okay, we're going to put this now into the discussion section of this. Now, with that item out, can we then approve the consent calendar? Everyone will vote their paddles, and the consent calendar will eventually go through with any items pulled out that people have issues with, right? Now, anything pulled out will go into discussion for the second item here, which is the CABE 2026 proposed resolutions. What this is, it's the items that were in the previous year's whole agenda that were already pulled out because people said, oh, this is outdated, this doesn't make sense, we need to change the language, or this has already been addressed, right? There was legislation passed last year, so we need to pull this out of the whole agenda. It's those things, plus any items that people raised their hand for at the vote on the consent calendar and said, I want that pulled out. So that's where the conversation is going to be on the proposed resolutions. Now, typically there is a process. There's a few deadlines over the course of the year where you can submit things to CABE and say, this has nothing to do with the previous year's whole agenda. I want to create a new resolution because this is something that hasn't come up before. It's a new issue. You can submit brand new language to CABE and they will put it in this proposed resolutions book. Now, I spoke with a few folks there and they said, listen, if you, Danbury, want to present us fully baked language, right? Not a concept that they have to send to the lawyers and have them work through it. If you can present us some fully cooked language and get it to us in advance, we can tuck it into this conversation for the 2026 proposed resolutions, which means there's still an opportunity for us to present some language. If we can agree on that tonight, get it over to Cabe, they'll have it all in there, and then it will be part of the discussion next week at the Cabe Convention. All right. When they get into this number 2 item here, this Cabe 2026 proposed resolutions, it's not a consent calendar. It's not dealt with as a group. They go through item by item by item by item. Now, sometimes that's a long list. This year, the consent calendar, I'm sorry, this year, the proposed resolution has, this is the blue book section, right? I just printed it out, but that's this book, which is the proposed resolution. So my quick math on here is there are 10, 11. So there's 12 items on here currently. Now, if we were to add, say, 1 or 2 things, then there'd be 14. But again, that is the one they will go through item by item. Everyone will discuss the language. There will be a microphone in the middle of the room. So if any of the delegates can get up and speak on behalf of Danbury, and after all the discussion is done, we all sit back down at our chairs. They will call a vote. The delegates will have a paddle. The paddle go up, and they will either vote the new resolution or they will reject it. Whatever comes out of that process for the proposed resolutions will make its way into the whole agenda. And then at the end of this meeting, we have a 2026 whole agenda, which is comprised of the items in the consent calendar that rolled forward from the previous year and these new items from the 2026 proposed resolutions, Blue Book, that were now just voted on one at a time. That will be the end of the meeting. Everybody will clap, and then everyone will go out and have dinner. But that will be the new whole agenda for 2026, and that's how we would arrive at it. Okay? Any questions? I hope I was clear. Okay, thank you. All right. So there's a few different ways we can go about this. We teased a few of these. Kate and I did during our community relations meeting last time, and there were a few items that we pulled out that we thought we should talk about. But as we've been sort of thinking through this, Dr. Casimiro and I were talking earlier today, there's a few places that I think we might want to offer some new proposed language. So I'll leave this either to Gladys and the committee here. Do we want to start by going through the resolutions, or do we want to start with actually the language of something that we want to present to Cabe to be added?
I would go with start with the language that we want to be added.
Okay, great, because I think that is going to be the more time-consuming piece of this as well. So let's make sure we start with that. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen here. And I have some language that I drafted this with Dr. Casimiro. Kate sent me some language as well. So there's 2 real items in here that we thought were just not really present. Okay, hang on here. Okay, let's see here. Oh, you've got that one. Okay. Just pop this over here. Okay. So there were 2 areas where we thought needed a little bit of attention that just didn't have good language around it in the existing resolutions. The first one was about AI. We wanted to get a better understanding of just what was happening with respect to guidance being provided from the state. Also, whether there was some sort of steering committee. We didn't think the language needed to say anything specifically about policy on AI, but rather some sort of body that would provide continuous direction as it continues to evolve. So, Kate, I don't know if you want to start talking a little bit with the language that you proposed here. I can start with the language that Dr. Casimiro and I came up with this morning.
Sure. So I actually was looking at one of the newly proposed resolutions that came forward from the Thomaston Board of Education that was titled um, 2.11 Digital Citizenship Program and Online Safety Education. So in looking at the language here, what I did is I just added an AI element to the existing language that they had already proposed. Um, and I don't know if it makes sense for us to do it, as a separate proposal for AI or sticking it in here with the digital citizenship piece. I'm not sure if it makes sense to keep those two things together or to separate them because AI is going to be such a significant change going forward.
Yeah. I think that is a good idea to tuck it into the existing digital citizenship. It might have a better chance of passing if we're sort of adding language into that one rather than creating our own. One of the thoughts Dr. Casimiro and I had was that there would be something like so down here, resolution, Cabe urges the General Assembly to fund and to
Mike, I apologize for interrupting. Could you just make the text a little bit bigger, please? It's a little
Sure.
hard to see on screen. Thank you.
Is that better?
No, not really.
Sorry. It might be limited by the
Okay.
what the Zoom window size. Okay.
Or put the top mic where it says 120, 125%. Can you adjust that? Maybe that'll help.
Is that any better? That's at 150. Is that more legible?
It is on my screen. I don't know how other folks are finding it.
So you're adding in the highlighted language here, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So the new resolution would read, Cabe urges state and federal governments to recognize both the benefits and risks of digital access and to take proactive steps to implement digital citizenship education, including AI awareness in all grade levels for both students and parents. Cabe supports the ongoing study and pilot program by the CT State Department of Education to assess the benefits and drawbacks of AI for student and teacher use and encourages the General Assembly to utilize its findings when determining the requirements for digital citizenship education. I like this language. I'm wondering if this one should stay pure um, as a student safety digital citizenship piece, which would then allow the steering committee or the working group or whatever the proposed idea is here for the ongoing entity um, to sort of function almost more as like a in a I don't know bring in psychology experts and which was sort of part of the thought Karen and I had is it would function at more of a higher level to help guide the creation of policy and regulations. And by popping it out, I think you almost get more of this one stays sort of pure, focused on digital citizenship and the kids portion of it. Well, the other one is almost more like a working group, a research group, something to, tie together almost at a higher level, what's happening. I'll share the language that we came up with. So our resolution, K. Burgess General Assembly to fund the General Assembly to fund and the State Department of Education to convene an AI steering committee to meet quarterly and review advancements in AI to understand their impact on schools, learning, and overall child development. The committee should be appropriately funded to enable engagement with guest speakers, academics, medical professionals, and other leaders in the field who can present new research and insights into the technology to best guide how schools should position themselves for optimal learning and student safety. So similar idea, but I mean, you can see that there's a little bit of a difference there. So I'll leave this to the committee. I don't, it's not my job to steer this. So we just want to put some options on the table.
I like that concept. I don't know how other members feel. You know.
I agree, separate.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. Yes.
Okay.
So we have that one down that we
Okay.
agree on. Okay.
All right. So then just to clarify, so we'll present the Kate's language as an edit to the digital citizenship one that already exists, and then we'll propose the steering committee language as a new resolution.
Right. Right.
Got it. Okay.
Right.
Great.
Okay.
All right. So the other one, and I don't have any sample language on this, and Kate, do you want to help me with this one? Because this one was really about alliance funding. And Dr. Casimir, I know we talked about this one too. If you wanted to talk a little bit about, let's see, this one's in 2.9 in the proposed.
Okay.
So let me get down here, 2.5, 2.8. Okay. So 2.9, the school finance system. And this is where we got into it down here. It was 2.9 under Cabe supports. So this would be item 11. Maintaining full ECS funding to all districts, including Alliance districts, and creating separate grants outside of ECS for Alliance district reform efforts. I think one of the concerns about this is there was some legislation last year about changing the designation of an Alliance district. And it wasn't clear whether the change in the designation was in name only, or if that would actually change the money that was going. And I think part of this was we wanted to be very clear about saying whatever whatever happens with the Alliance district idea or concept, we want to make sure that the existing districts that are getting Alliance funding through ECS continue if you they can't keep increasing it at those sort of larger rates, that at the very least there's some sort of cost of living or inflationary increase in it. The justification for this being is that there are a lot of salaries in the Alliance grant,
Grant.
and if those those people will continue to grow column and step, and their salaries will continue to grow. So those, those incremental increases are based on, the 3.5% or 4.5%, whatever that contract was agreed on for that person, whatever that contract or bargaining unit they're in, they will grow at that rate. So if we're currently spending Alliance at 100%, as those contracts, as those salaries continue to grow, suddenly Alliance won't be enough to fund them anymore.
Right.
We'll actually have to dig out of the general fund to supplement it.
Mhm.
So I think in a perfect world, we would love if Alliance just kept increasing and we saw that $4, $5, $6 million bump every year. And I think it certainly is reasonable to ask for that. And I'm kind of surprised no one that's not really, and maybe that's what this 11 is saying here. I'm not really sure what they're trying to get out of it, but I think maybe we say something, in the case that Alliance is not, there's no Alliance increase, there needs to be some sort of supplemental amount of money to cover just those cost of living increases for the salaries that are already in the Alliance grant. Kara, did I capture that correctly?
You did, some of that language was sparked by the fact that there was a kind of a move to only have about go back to the original 16 or 17 Alliance districts from the original group, because so many were included. A lot of districts got dropped off the list, but Danbury remained on it. But they didn't manage to embed in some type of a hold harmless clause. But the language, and Mike, I did a little refining, little AI assisted refining to some of the ideas today, but didn't have a ton of time. But I do have some language. I did just send it to you,
Okay.
and had it put in a format that mirrored Cabe's format. But basically, it captures the issue of that Alliance districts that does not fully. The current state allocation model for ECS and Alliance district does not fully capture the impacts of year-to-year inflation cost of living increases, wage competition, and fixed cost escalation without the automatic cost of living or COLA or inflation indexing built into ECS. Districts face fiscal pressure that undermines the ability to deliver high quality public education. So I have some language. I don't know when does this have to be fully submitted?
They didn't give us a deadline, but I would think probably by Thursday or Friday this week.
Well, I'd like to work on some wording on this a little bit more and send it to this group if that's okay. I don't want to hold the group up, but this is to me the number one problem we're facing that will cause a ripple effect in everything else we're trying to do.
Yep.
All the gains and progress that we've made as a urban superintendent member for cause. Our superintendents in the alliance districts and the urban districts got together to craft a letter proposing legislation in this area as a combined group. And I could certainly mirror and complement that letter with the ideas around the ECS, and I can put that together for the board to consider in their proposals. But I think it's big. I think it's a really big issue for us. It's going to be.
Here, I've got a question. I'm a little bit confused in terms of, I always thought of, currently we use the terminology ECS, and it's incorporated the alliance as well as the ECS funding.
Mm-hmm.
Generally, the alliance funding, I look at it, would be separate to us, going back to a point where it used to come to us direct. So I agree with what's been said relative to if the alliance funding is capped, it shouldn't be capped because it should be adjusted for COLA increases.
Exactly.
What
Exactly.
I'm saying is, instead of using the word ECS, is it better to break it out and say ECS in brackets, put alliance funding? Because
Yeah, we could.
The ECS funding is a total package of the combination of both. I think
It is, and it's the share that gets carved out. So not all of our ECS money comes direct in the form of an alliance grant.
right.
You're right. Some does go to the city. We get direct, and that money that's carved out, we have to create. We have to create strategies. We have to track data. We have to write narratives. We have to account for every penny. It's based on a reimbursement basis. So a significant portion of our money though comes through ECS. And whereas the city may say, well, the cost of living and the contracts are going up, and so therefore we're taking those things into account, we're not necessarily benefiting by that same factorization on the direct alliance portion. We've worked really hard over the last couple of years to accelerate that ECS formula, to advocate through legislative efforts to accelerate that number. Well, we've reached the full funding. We are fully funded now for the first time in that formula. And now, careful what you wish for. We're here. It's a good thing that we were fully funded, but if that number does not go up, the general fund bears the burden of the differential between our contracts, our contractual increases, and the fixed number that we get every year.
So I would still think if you specifically mentioned the alliance in there for the COLA.
Yeah. I'm almost wondering if we say something like the school share of ECS parentheses alliance, because if they do get rid of the alliance designation, then we're sort of covered on both sides of it. They say, well, there is no more alliance, so you don't get alliance. But because I know in the years past, when our share of the ECS increased via alliance, the city number stayed flat, and we were guaranteed to get that additional piece of alliance. So I can try to play with some of the language too, and then when we get together on Wednesday for community relations, we can review all the sort of final versions of this.
Yeah, and I think there's more conversation and more legislation and more tweaking in terms of trying to work out ECS funding and everything that it's happened up to this point, including the variation of demographics and stuff. But
Yeah.
I've always looked at alliance being specific to certain districts, and it's important, as Kara had mentioned and you had mentioned, that in our budget, we want to be able to protect ourselves because the principal amount of that money is in salaries. And if we don't at least get a COLA, then it's gonna come out of the general fund when that thing is passed.
And I'll just as a reminder, this is just a statement of what Cabe is going to support. There's nothing preventing us from having one of our local elected officials drop a bill with that explicit language in there. So that's already in the conversation legislatively. And then, then this language with Cabe is sort of a backfire, that we like that pushes it through.
Sure.
So, we can get a little creative with this too. And we can drop our own bills, not ours, but, our delegation can drop bills right up until the first day of session. So,
Yeah,
Okay.
and just not to belabor, but I'll be working this angle on all fronts: legislative, policy, advocacy, CABE, CAPS, cause. Like it'll be hit from multiple angles.
yeah.
So you're gonna work the room, as you're saying, right, Kara?
I am gonna work the room.
So you're gonna have that angle that you're gonna work, you're gonna have prepared, so when we discuss it on Wednesday night, everyone that's going, can see what we have come up with and can at least agree on that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'll have so far there's three things. There's Kate's revised language for the digital citizenship. There'll be the new language that we just discussed for the AI steering committee. And now this is number 3. It'll be the new language that we come up with for whatever, whether we're going to call it ECS or Alliance continuation / COLA increases.
Good. Does any board members have any questions? Okay. Continue, Mike.
Okay.
Mhm.
So those are the new items that we really had. We've got about a half hour left here. So I guess I would put it back to the committee or to the board here. How do you want to spend this time? Do you want to go through the blue book of the resolutions? Is there any of the items in the consent calendar that anybody came across that you would like to sort of, dig into? I'll leave it to the board here because I think this is this is really, all you that should be driving this. So,
Could you, I think because everybody doesn't go to the convention and they don't know what we do, could we have a half an hour to kill, just basically go through the resolutions that's in the blue book. And then if anybody have any questions concerning those resolution, we'll just, talk about it and then move on.
okay.
If that's agreeable with the members that are on. You have something different?
It's okay with me, Gladys.
Okay.
Let's go.
All right. So what I'll do is so everybody can see the blue book on their screen, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I'll go through them and I'll read. This is all procedure, voting, amendments, consent. Okay. So I'll read the sort of high level title and let's see, that's a belief. Yeah, I'll read the high level title and then, maybe the sort of opening salvo of each one here. I won't go word for word. That would, one of those
Right.
things.
Now, I was looking at some of the resolutions, and I start with page 9. There's a resolution, and then there's an explanation as to why there's no change.
Yeah.
Okay, so everyone understand that it has already been voted on.
Okay, so if we just start, so I'm on page 6 here.
Mm-hmm.
These are the proposed resolution changes. So starting with 2.1, public education is a public policy priority. Kay believes that all citizens, including board members, the governor, and the Connecticut General Assembly and the State Board of Education, must make public education a matter of the highest priority of public policy. The state must heed its constitutional mandate under Article 8th of the Constitution of Connecticut. I wonder if that's a typo. To provide a free and appropriate public education for all Connecticut's children. Kay believes that public policy must assist children and their families in maintaining education as a matter of highest priority for children amidst the continuing economic and social pressures of society. So I think that's an easy one. It looks like the explanation of the change here, editorial adding reference from an existing resolution. The committee recommends adoption. I don't know the language that it was originally replacing, but Okay, number 2.2, school climate, culture, safety, and security. The need to address school climate, culture, and security in a comprehensive manner. The recommendation here in bold is to maintain policies that reinforce positive school climate. Cabe is supporting state efforts to study and recommends the following: best practices for reducing school-based arrests for all students, best practices for addressing higher incidents of school-based arrests for students of color, training for staff and students on de-escalation techniques and cultural sensitivity, a uniform reporting system for school-based arrests, so all districts are reporting numbers the same way. The first section 3 was incorporated from the student discipline resolution from an existing resolution of the Government Relations Committee. Recommends adoption. Right. 11.3, student achievement and assessment. The need to use student tests as teaching tools and as part of the district's instructional program, and to assure local school board involvement in assessment accuracy and relevancy of data used to assess the condition of education in the state of Connecticut. So this looks like just a small sort of grammatical change in and, probably in place of an R. Strive to review, revise district goals, focus on academic personal development, and strive to find methods to remove barriers to learning and create a school climate that fosters an excitement for learning. 2.4, early care and education linking parent involvement. The need for early care and education programs and linking parent involvement to ensure learning readiness. The change is down here at the bottom. Cabe urges the General Assembly to study fully funding universal pre-K and all of its public school programs, state-approved programs. 2.5, drug, tobacco, and alcohol use.
One thing I want to point out, Mike,
Yep.
you're going 2.5. The other time you were saying 11.3. Just clarifying.
I'm
that
sorry, I said 11. It's a 2. It's Roman numerals. I think I just read it quickly. All right, so 2.5 now. I'm on page 9. Drug, tobacco, and alcohol use. The need to eliminate the use of illegal drugs and other substances, tobacco, and alcohol from our schools. The change is down here in 3.4.5. Allow more flexibility in the design and delivery of curriculum to address the use of drugs, tobacco, alcohol, and other substances, and gather data on student drug, tobacco, alcohol, and substance use, and commit resources to support student-guided extended day programs for appropriate age levels. Okay, 2.6, public school desegregation initiatives. Need to improve the racial makeup of public schools. Cabe urges the General Assembly to develop a task force to study the effectiveness of the racial imbalance law, charged with developing a newer metric to measure a school's racial makeup, and then provide districts with the resources to achieve greater diversity.
If any board members have anything to ask or say at these, as Mike go down these, just ask, ask Michael the question.
Well, can I ask? I mean, when they do these laws, don't they already study it? I mean, how old is the law?
Yeah, they would, and it looks like they're just changing some of the specific language about it. So, for example, this one, Cabe urges the General Assembly to develop a task force to study the effectiveness of the racial imbalance law. It looks like they just want to say period, and they're going to remove this section here. So let's see. Resolution of government relations, district priority. Law was paused for nearly 2 years from an existing resolution. Yeah, see, explanation of change. The law was paused for 2 years by the legislature and is now back in effect. So they just want to make sure that if it comes back in effect, that Cabe is supporting it and it doesn't get lost in the shuffle. The social and emotional learning, the importance of providing support for social and emotional learning. Cabe urges the General Assembly, the State Department of Ed, and local and regional boards of ed to strengthen the support for social and emotional learning through professional development for educators, as well as resources for students and parents. Explanation of the change. District's priority is pre-K with limited funding and staff. So that's why they want to remove this section that says community members, so the limited funding can focus on students and parents. 2.8, school board member PD. The importance of professional development for board members. Cabe supports a state requirement for an orientation and ongoing professional development for all school board members. The change is here. Examine and discuss annually the roles of the board and the superintendent in order to maintain a strong and effective partnership. It's just getting rid of this language that says in the educational process. It's probably just a little bit redundant. Editorial tightening up language. Yep, that's exactly what it is. 2.9, the school finance system. The need for equitable and adequate education funding for school districts. The increased burden of the cost of public education, largely as a result of mandates imposed on public school system by state government, requires more equitable sharing by state and local funding sources. Therefore, state legislation should recognize. We have all of these, and the change is down here. Okay, and this is the one we were talking about. So instead of restoration, they're recommending the language change to maintaining full ECS funding to all districts, including Alliance districts, and creating separate grants outside of ECS for Alliance district reform efforts. So,
Well,
yeah. No, go ahead.
Yeah, in that 2.9 and going down to further down to number 13.
Yep.
So currently, if they remove a designation of alliance, being an alliance district,
Yep.
what is the result of having that designation removed?
Yeah, I think that's the question. And I think that this is probably worth raising in that room and seeing what Cabe says about that, because I don't think they ever really explained that last year. That with this change, it never went through, and therefore there were no real regulations or rule writing around it. So no one really seemed to know if it meant, like I said, a change in name only, if there was funding actually attached to the change.
Okay.
And we'll have to see if we propose our own language, what that means for this resolution. Do they just keep the language in here, or will they make a tweak to this too? So I'll work that out with Cabe, and I'll have an answer for us on Wednesday night. Okay. All right. 2.10, magnet school choice and charter funding. Magnet schools, charter schools, and project choice play a positive role in achieving quality and diversity by making unique opportunities available to students. A comprehensive funding system is needed to sustain these programs. Cabe urges the General Assembly to, and here's the change. This is a full removal of this. Deletion of number 4. Continue to exempt preschool from the requirements that boards of education pay tuition for non-special education students who choose to attend a magnet school. And they're saying this is being deleted because it has been accomplished.
So, Mike, what does that mean?
So let's see, continue to exempt preschool from the requirements of board to pay tuition. So it looks like this is, so a board of education does not have to pay tuition to a non-special education preschool student.
So for
Attending a magnet
example,
school. Yeah.
yeah, for example, if we opened up AIS and added a preschool level to AIS non-special ed, and a student from Brookfield or New Fairfield wanted to come, we can't make the preschool is exempt from the tuition, so that those boards of ed would not have to pay for tuition. They can come, they can participate in our program, they might help with our our percentages, right, our out of district percentages, but we can't make that school district pay. They are exempt from paying tuition for preschool students only.
Yeah, and
That's if we have preschool, correct?
Can I?
Right, we do not have a non-special ed
non-special.
preschool program. That's correct.
Okay, thanks.
Can I also add where we're looking at number 2 there, ensure that any charter school funding plan does not compromise local district financing.
Mhm.
I'm not sure what they mean. And do we need to be a little bit more specific in when we're talking about district financing of services?
That doesn't make sense. You're right, Juanita. You're absolutely right.
Transportation, nursing services, I think we
Yeah.
have mentioned this, sped services, ELL services.
You know, like how come New Haven, they have, you know, charter schools in Hartford, and that doesn't compromise district funding?
Oh, mhm.
You
So
know,
maybe
that
that's
doesn't,
one. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Teresa.
no, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say maybe that's the conversation in the room. You know, when this one comes up on the screen, that's the conversation at the microphone is raising that issue and just the ones you said. You know, special ed, ELL, transportation, nursing. Those are sort of the four big places. I don't say big, but the four places that are typically where the financing issue is felt. So maybe it's a question of spelling those out.
I agree with you, Michael, because I think what people don't realize is, you know, it does affect our funding because we have to pay for special ed, we have to pay for bus transportation, we have to pay for a nurse for a charter school. We run our schools from, you know, cutoff date time for the buses is 2:30. They run 5:30, 6:30. So who's going to take on that load? The local school board. And from my understanding, the representative from the local board of education can sit on that committee, but you have no vote. So to me, that don't make sense.
So what I'll do is,
yeah, it's a worthwhile discussion
yeah.
to have.
So I'll add this one to our list then. So this will be item number 4 for Wednesday night when we have community relations. So this will be changes or potentially adding or discussing language to specify 2.10.2 specifics around financing for magnet choice charter.
Thank you about that, because I still can't understand why Danbury is the outlier, whereas everybody else has got a charter school. Was it Bridgeport, New Haven, Hartford? It just doesn't make sense. And to say that it's if it doesn't impact them, then how come it impacts us? What's the rationale?
But it does impact us, Teresa, in a way, in funding.
Mm-hmm.
Well, doesn't it impact New Haven, Hartford, and Bridgeport?
Because we have some schools that are state charter schools. Okay. If I'm hearing the information right, they are state.
When they're state, they're approved by the state, and from what I understand, ours is approved by the state, but we got no funding. If that's
I haven't heard that ours was state. I don't know.
I think that was recent,
just
this year, from what I understand, they
But
approved it, but
yeah,
no funding.
it's an overall discussion that we need to have. So when we're giving our information, that is the correct information.
I think something to keep in mind as well is that the funding for New Haven and for Hartford in particular is substantially more than what we receive here in Danbury from the state. So that's just another factor that we have to take into consideration.
Well, it's probably because they have a bigger student population. I would imagine. But
Okay,
like you
so
said,
The ECS funding is also developed according to what each area, which each municipality is assessed for being able to pay out of its own pocket through local taxes. And our rating for that is higher than either of those two places as well. So the perception from the state, and I'm not saying this is accurate or inaccurate, this is just what the state has assessed us at, is that we have a greater capacity to pay from our local taxes than most of the other regions that, are in Alliance District.
so Mike is gonna bring some language that we're gonna discuss on Wednesday night concerning this.
Yes, yes, I will.
Okay, okay.
Okay. So then now if we're moving into 2.11, this is the new proposed resolutions. This is the one we talked about regarding digital citizenship. We're going to be offering some new language here that Kate crafted for us. We already talked about 2.12. This is another one, a new one, child neglect. So CABE supports efforts by appropriate state authorities along with municipalities and school districts to identify and prevent the abuse and neglect of children and youth. And this is submitted by the CABE Resolutions Committee, and it's recommended for adoption.
Okay.
This one, 3.1 now, we're in deletions, Title 3. There's only one deletion here. Student discipline, the need for comprehensive student discipline policies. CABE urges districts to establish comprehensive student discipline policies that reinforce a positive school climate. They're saying this is deleted because this language is now incorporated into 2.2 school climate, culture, safety, security resolution. So this has been absorbed by another resolution, so it doesn't need a standalone piece. Yeah,
May I
Kate.
ask a question, please? Just backing up for a second to 2.12 child neglect. I guess what I'm trying to understand is, and we just went over this in policy, that there's existing policy around this already, and we're legally bound, as schools to address instances of abuse, neglect being a form of abuse. So I'm just curious as to why this might be coming forward in pretty limited language.
Yeah.
And I just wonder if we might ask that question at the delegate assembly to get a sense of where they're going with it.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent question for the assembly, but I'll certainly add it to my list just so we have a full slate of the things we want to talk about and we don't lose track of anything. All right.
Thank you.
Okay, so that's it for the Blue Book. So if you want, I can just do a quick recap of the 5 items that we're going to be bringing up to Community Relations on Wednesday. And if everything is good coming out of there, then we've got our agenda for going into the Delegate Assembly next week. So number 1, digital citizenship will be Kate's new language that we want to add to the existing resolution about digital citizenship. Number 2 is our new language around AI that will be presented as a new resolution. Sorry, I can't read my writing here. The new resolution, sorry, I put KC and that was Cara Casimiro, Kate Canetta. The Cara Casimiro's language as new for the Alliance funding. 4 is changes to 2.10.2 that Juanita was discussing regarding the charter financing questions. And then 2.12 that Kate just raised around the child neglect. And those are the 5 items that we'll be talking about in more depth on Wednesday in person, just before our board meeting.
I've got a question.
Yep.
Why is this being brought through community relations? I haven't looked at the agenda, but is this on a board agenda for the board members to approve once you go through and?
No, we don't have a vote set up for it. I think it's just reaching a sort of consensus that the delegates will then take to the assembly.
It's not an action item on the agenda.
No,
It was for us to get together
I
and let other board members know what is going on with the Cabe and their resolution and what we do when we go to the convention and act on what we believe that we should input into those resolutions.
I agree, but they should have attended the workshop. I mean, it seems to be redundant, but I mean, that's the reason I asked the question.
Okay. No, you know.
Thank you, Mike.
Okay.
I think you did a great job. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Good. Okay, there's no questions that no one has to ask. I'll ask the motion to adjourn, and thank you again, Mike.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
I need a motion to adjourn.
I'll make
So
a
moved.
motion.
Kate, motion made by Teresa. Could I get a second?
Second.
Seconded by Louisa. All in favor? Aye.
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 Thank